Tonight, you will discover a powerful secret, the wisdom that Zen practitioners have used for millennia to calm the waves of the mind, now waiting to meet you. Under the Bodhi tree in ancient India, in bamboo forest temples of Japan, in Himalayan meditation caves, countless souls have found peace through these truths. Over the next 3 hours, we will drift through the mist of time, letting 10 Zen stories illuminate your heart like moonlight. Adjust your pillow. Let your shoulders relax completely. Let your legs rest naturally. There's no need to force any posture. Simply let your body settle into comfort. Now breathe with me. Inhale, feeling cool air brush your nostrils. Exhale, letting all tension drip gently from your fingertips. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a wooden veranda, the air cool against your skin as the first light of dawn seeps through the branches of a centuries-old pine tree. Below you, a stone path winds through a small garden where moss clings to the rocks like a soft green blanket, and a single stone lantern casts a faint glow that fades as the sun rises. Somewhere in the distance, a stream gurgles, its water clear and cold, carrying the sound of movement that feels both constant and calm. This is a Zen temple in Kyoto, Japan, in the 17th century. But in this moment, time bends. You are here, now present in the stillness that has been cultivated here for generations. Breathe in deeply, letting the scent of damp earth and pine needles fill your lungs. Exhale slowly, feeling the tension in your shoulders loosen, as if the very air around you is holding space for your relaxation. Notice how the light shifts, how the shadows of the pine needles stretch and shrink on the wooden floor beneath your feet. This is the first lesson. To be present, to notice without rushing, to let your senses guide you into the now. In the main hall of the temple, a low wooden table sits at the center, its surface smooth from years of use. On it, a simple ceramic teapot and a single cup rest, their shapes unadorned, their colors a soft, earthy brown. A monk enters, his footsteps silent on the tatami mats, and bows deeply before taking a seat at the table. His robes are plain, dyed in the natural indigo that fades gently with each washing, and his hands are weathered but steady as he reaches for the teapot. This is Zen Master Nanin, a teacher known for his quiet wisdom, his ability to see beyond words to the heart of a matter. A moment later, another figure appears, a scholar, dressed in finer clothes, his posture rigid with the eagerness of someone seeking answers. He bows, but his movements are hurried, his eyes already scanning the room as if searching for proof of his own intelligence. Master Nanin, he says, his voice tight with anticipation, I have traveled far to learn from you. I wish to understand Zen. Master Nanin says nothing. Instead, he lifts the teapot and begins to pour tea into the cup. The scholar watches, his brow furrowing slightly as the tea fills the cup, rising higher and higher until it spills over the edges, dripping onto the table, onto the mats, onto the scholar's shoes. Stop, the scholar exclaims, leaping back as the hot liquid touches his skin. The cup is full. It can hold no more. Master Nanin sets down the teapot, his gaze steady as he meets the scholar's eyes. You are like this cup, he says, his voice soft but clear, like the stream outside winding through stone. You come to me with your mind already full of ideas, full of opinions, full of what you think you know. How can I teach you anything when there is no room for new understanding? Breathe in, feeling the weight of those words settle in your chest. Exhale, letting go of whatever it is that fills your own cup, worries about the past, plans for the future, the endless list of things you think you should know or do. In this moment, your cup can be empty. In this moment, there is space to receive. The story of Master Nanin and the teacup is more than a simple anecdote. It is a doorway into one of the most profound teachings of Zen Buddhism, the concept of emptiness, or sunyata, Sanskrit. Emptiness here does not mean nothingness, but rather the understanding that all things are interconnected, that nothing exists in isolation, and that our attachments to fixed ideas and identities are what cause suffering. The cup is only useful when it is empty. It is the space within that allows it to hold something new. So too with the mind only, when we let go of our rigid beliefs, our need to control, our insistence on being right, can we truly learn, grow, and find peace. Buddha himself spoke of this in the Heart Sutra, one of the most beloved texts in Mahayana Buddhism. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness is not different from form. Prajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra. This verse invites us to see that the physical world, form, and the empty, interconnected nature of reality, emptiness, are not separate. They are two sides of the same coin. The cup's form, its shape, its material is what makes it a cup, but without the emptiness inside, it would be useless. In the same way, your thoughts, feelings, and experiences are real, but they are not fixed. They are like the tea in the cup, constantly flowing, changing, moving through you. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine. Your mind is that teacup. What is filling it right now? Is it a to-do list that seems endless? A conversation from yesterday that you can't stop replaying? A worry about tomorrow that feels heavy and real? Notice these things without judgment, just as you would notice the tea spilling over the edge of the cup. They are simply there, but they do not have to define you. From a modern psychological perspective, our tendency to cling to thoughts and beliefs to keep our cups overflowing stems from what psychologists call the ego's need for control. The ego, that part of ourselves that identifies with our thoughts, feelings, and experiences, seeks to maintain a sense of stability by holding on to what is familiar. It fears emptiness because emptiness feels like uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers our primal fear of the unknown. This is why we often find ourselves rehashing the past or obsessing about the future. Our egos believe that if we can control these thoughts, we can control our lives. But here's what science tells us. This constant mental chatter activates what is known as the default mode network in the brain, a set of interconnected regions that are active when we are not focused on the external world. While this network is important for self-reflection and planning, overactivation is linked to anxiety, depression, and rumination. In other words, when our cups are always full, our brains are in a state of chronic stress, constantly processing, judging, and holding on to thoughts that no longer serve us. The scholar in the story is like all of us, so focused on what he thinks. He knows, so eager to prove his own understanding, that he cannot see what is right in front of him. He comes to Master Nanin seeking answers, but he is not truly open to receiving them. How often do we do this in our own lives? We seek advice from friends, read self-help books, attend workshops, all while clinging tightly to our own ideas about what we need, what will work, what is possible. We ask for guidance, but we are already sure we know the answer. Master Nanin's lesson is simple. To learn, we must first unlearn. To receive, we must first make space. This does not mean discarding all of our knowledge or experiences. It means approaching them with a sense of curiosity, with the understanding that they are not absolute truths, but tools that can be adapted, modified, or let go of when they no longer serve. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine taking in the cool, fresh air of possibility. Exhale, and with that breath, release one thing that has been filling your cup, maybe a belief that you're not good enough, a grudge against someone who hurt you, a worry about a future that hasn't even happened yet. Let it go, not with force, but with the gentle certainty that there is more to life than holding on. In the moments after Master Nanin's words, the scholar stands silent, his face flushed with embarrassment, but also with a dawning realization. He looks down at the spilled tea at the empty cup now sitting beside it, and something shifts in him. He bows again, this time more deeply, more humbly, and says, "Teach me to empty my cup, Master." And so the lesson begins not with words, but with action. Together, they clean the spilled tea, wiping the table slowly, deliberately, each movement a meditation. The scholar learns that emptiness is not something to be feared, but something to be cultivated through presence, through the act of paying attention to what is rather than what was or what might be. This is the practice of mindfulness, the act of being fully present in the moment, aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When we are mindful, we are like the empty cup, open, receptive, able to meet each moment as it is, without the burden of expectations or attachments. Research has shown that regular mindfulness practice can reduce activity in the default mode, network, lowering levels of stress and anxiety, and increasing feelings of calm and well-being. It helps us recognize that our thoughts are just thoughts, mental events that come and go, like clouds passing through the sky, rather than absolute truths that define our reality. So what does it mean to empty your cup in your daily life? It means approaching a difficult conversation, not with a script in your head, but with the willingness to listen. It means starting a new project, not with the pressure to be perfect, but with the curiosity to learn. It means waking up in the morning, not immediately planning your day, but taking a moment to notice the light coming through the window, the sound of your breath, the feeling of being alive right here, right now. Tonight's practice is simple, but profound. Before you drift off to sleep, take a few minutes to sit or lie quietly and bring to mind your cup all the thoughts, worries, and attachments that have been filling your mind today. Notice them without judgment, just as you would notice objects in a room. Then, imagine picking up each one gently and setting it down outside of you, not because they are bad or wrong, but because you don't need to carry them anymore, at least. Not right now. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, "My cup is empty. I am open. I am receptive. I am at peace." Breathe in and feel the space inside you expand. Breathe out and let that space fill with calm. Remember, the goal is not to empty your cup forever. That is impossible. And even if it were, it would not be desirable. Our thoughts, feelings, and experiences are part of what makes us human. The goal is to learn to empty it when it needs to be emptied, to make space for new things to enter, to recognize that holding on too tightly to anything, whether it's a thought, a feeling, or an idea, only causes suffering. As Master Nanan might say, the cup is most useful when it is neither full nor empty, but in a state of readiness, able to receive when needed, able to let go when it's time. So too with the mind. Peace comes not from having no thoughts, but from relating to them with ease, knowing that they are like the tea in the cup here now, but soon to be replaced by something new. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation. In the temple garden, the sun has risen fully now, casting warm light over the moss and the stone lantern. The stream still gurgles, its sound a reminder of the constant flow of life, of the beauty of letting go. The scholar has left, but his cup remains on the table, empty now, ready for whatever comes next. And so are you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, emptiness is not a void to be filled, but a space to be lived, in a space where peace, understanding, and new possibilities can take root. Breathe in, breathe out. Your cup is empty. You are free. Let the image of the Kyoto temple fade gently, like mist dissolving into the morning air, and allow your mind to travel now to a different place, a quiet monastery nestled in the lush hills of southern China, sometime in the 7th century. The air here is warmer, thick with the scent of jasmine and damp earth after a recent rain. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy of bamboo, casting dappled patterns on the stone paths that wind between low wooden buildings with curved, tiled roofs. Somewhere nearby, a bird calls out, its song clear and melodic, then falls silent, leaving only the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze. Breathe in deeply, letting the warmth of this new place wrap around you like a gentle embrace. Exhale slowly, feeling any remaining tension in your body melt away, as if the very air here holds a quiet invitation to let go. Notice how the light plays on the bamboo leaves, how each movement of the wind creates a new pattern of shadows on the ground. This is the home of Master Huineng, the sixth patriarch of Zen Buddhism, a man whose wisdom would transform the practice of meditation forever. In the main hall of this monastery, a large bronze mirror hangs on the wall, its surface polished to a perfect shine. Unlike the ornate mirrors of the wealthy, this one is simple, unadorned, its beauty lying in its clarity, its ability to reflect whatever is in front of it without distortion. Monks gather here each morning, their robes a soft gray, their faces calm as they sit in silent meditation, their gaze occasionally drawn to the mirror as a reminder of their practice. One morning, a young monk approaches Master Huineng, his brow furrowed with confusion. "Master," he says, "I have been studying the teachings of our predecessors, and I am troubled by a question. The fifth patriarch once said, 'The mind is like a mirror. It collects dust, which must be wiped away through practice. But how can this be? If the mind is like a mirror, then even the act of wiping it would leave a trace, would it not?" Master Huineng smiles, his eyes crinkling at the corners with warmth. He gestures to the bronze mirror on the wall. "Look at this mirror," he says, his voice soft but firm, like the rustle of bamboo in the wind. "What do you see?" The young monk looks at the mirror. "I see the walls of the hall, the other monks sitting in meditation, the window with the bamboo outside. Do you see any dust?" Master Huineng asks. The monk shakes his head. "No, Master. The mirror is perfectly clean." "Ah," Master Huineng says, "but what if I were to throw a handful of dust at it? Then you would see dust, would you not?" "Yes," the monk replies, "but then we would wipe it away to restore its clarity." Master Huineng shakes his head gently. "This is where you are mistaken," he says. "The mirror itself is never dirty. The dust is simply something that appears on its surface, then is blown away or wiped clean. The mirror's nature, its ability to reflect, remains unchanged. In the same way, the mind is not a mirror that collects dust. It is pure, clear, and empty by nature, just like the mirror. Thoughts, feelings, and distractions are like the dust. They appear, but they do not stain the mind's true nature." The young monk looks confused. "But the fifth patriarch spoke of wiping away the dust," he says. His words were a teaching tool. Master Huineng explains, "A way to guide those who are just beginning their practice. For those who believe their minds are inherently dirty, the idea of wiping away the dust gives them a practice, a way to engage with their thoughts. But for those who are ready to understand the deeper truth, we must say, originally, there is not a single thing." Benlai Wu Yi Wu, Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. Breathe in, letting these words settle in your chest like a gentle truth. Exhale, feeling the weight of any beliefs you hold about your own mind beliefs, that it is somehow flawed, that it needs to be fixed or improved, float away like dust on the wind. In this moment, you can see your mind as Master Huineng saw it, pure, clear, inherently peaceful, with no need for wiping or cleaning. The teaching of originally, there is not a single thing, is one of the most radical and profound in Zen Buddhism. It challenges the idea that we need to strive, to achieve, to become something other than who we are in order to find peace. Instead, it suggests that peace is our natural state, that our true nature is pure and unchanging, like the bronze mirror, and that the thoughts and feelings that seem to disturb us are just temporary visitors, like dust on the mirror's surface. This idea is closely linked to the concept of Buddha nature, the belief that all beings possess the potential for enlightenment, for perfect wisdom and compassion within themselves, just as a seed contains the potential for a mighty tree. Buddha nature is not something we need to acquire. It is something we need to recognize, to uncover by letting go of the thoughts and beliefs that obscure it. Buddha himself hinted at this in the Lankavatara Sutra, where he says, all sentient beings are endowed with the Tathagata's wisdom and virtue, but they do not realize it because they are obscured by adventitious defilements. Lankavatara Sutra. In other words, we already have everything we need to find peace and happiness within us. We just need to learn to see through the adventitious defilements, the thoughts, feelings, and attachments that cloud our vision. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine your mind as that bronze mirror. What dust is appearing on its surface right now? Is it a feeling of anxiety? A memory of something that happened yesterday? A worry about what might happen tomorrow? Notice these things, but try to see them as separate from the mirror itself. They are not part of your true nature. They are just passing phenomena, like clouds in the sky, like dust on a mirror. From a modern psychological perspective, Master Huineng's teaching offers a powerful alternative to our usual way of relating to our thoughts. Most of us identify with our thoughts. We say, I am angry, I am worried, I am sad, as if these feelings are part of who we are. But research in cognitive psychology shows that thoughts are just mental events, like sensations or perceptions, and that we have the ability to observe them without becoming them. This is what psychologists call cognitive diffusion, the practice of separating ourselves from our thoughts, of seeing them as words and images rather than absolute truths. When we practice cognitive diffusion, we create a small gap between ourselves and our thoughts, a space where we can choose how to respond to them rather than reacting automatically. This gap is exactly what Master Huineng is pointing to when he speaks of the mirror's clarity, the ability to reflect thoughts without being defined by them. The young monk in the story is like many of us caught up in the idea that we need to fix our minds, to wipe away the dust of our thoughts through effort and struggle. But Master Huineng's lesson is that this struggle is unnecessary. The mind is already clear. We just need to learn to see it that way. This does not mean that thoughts will stop arising, just as dust will always settle on a mirror, but it means that we can relate to them differently, with a sense of ease and detachment. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine that your mind is that bronze mirror, clear and bright. Exhale, and with that breath, let go of any identification with your thoughts. They are not you. They are just visitors passing through dot in the days that follow. The young monk practices this new understanding. He sits in meditation, and when thoughts arise, he does not try to push them away or wipe them clean. Instead, he simply observes them, noting them as thinking, and returns his attention to his breath, to the sound of the bamboo rustling outside, to the clarity of the mirror that remains unchanged beneath the passing dust. Slowly, something shifts in him. He realizes that his thoughts are not a problem to be solved, but a reminder of his mind's inherent capacity to reflect, to be present, to be awake. He begins to see that even the most difficult thoughts, fear, anger, sadness, are like dust. On the mirror, they appear, but they do not define the mirror's true nature. This is the practice of non-attachment, not in the sense of pushing away our thoughts and feelings, but in the sense of relating to them with a light touch, knowing that they are temporary, that they will pass, and that our true nature remains untouched by them. Research has shown that practicing non-attachment can reduce levels of anxiety and depression, increase feelings of well-being, and improve our ability to cope with stress. When we stop identifying with our thoughts, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from clinging to them as if they are absolute truths. So what does it mean to practice no dust on the mirror in your daily life? It means waking up in the morning and noticing the first thoughts that arise without getting caught up in them. I have so much to do today becomes just a thought, not a commandment. It means sitting in traffic and feeling the frustration rise, then stepping back and saying to yourself, this is frustration and it is passing through me, but it is not who I am. It means lying in bed at night, unable to sleep because your mind is racing, then closing your eyes and imagining your thoughts as leaves floating down a stream, moving away from you, leaving your mind clear and calm. Tonight's practice builds on the one from last night, but with a subtle shift. Instead of imagining emptying your cup, imagine yourself as the bronze mirror. Lie quietly in bed, and as thoughts arise, simply observe them, without judgment, without trying to change them. See them as they are mental events, like images on a screen, like dust on a mirror. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, I am the mirror, not the dust. I am clear, I am calm, I am at peace. Breathe in and feel the clarity of your true nature. Breathe out and let any identification with your thoughts dissolve into the air. Remember, the goal is not to stop thinking. That is impossible, and even if it were, it would not be desirable. Thoughts are a natural part of being human. They help us solve problems, connect with others, make sense of the world. The goal is to stop being defined by our thoughts, to recognize that they are not who we are, that our true nature is something deeper, something more stable, something inherently peaceful. As Master Huineng might say, the mirror does not need to be afraid of the dust, for the dust cannot change the mirror's nature. In the same way, you do not need to be afraid of your thoughts, for they cannot change your true nature, your capacity for peace, for joy, for presence. Breathe in and out. Feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation. In the bamboo forest outside the monastery, the sun begins to set, casting a warm golden light over the trees. The bronze mirror in the main hall reflects this light, its surface still, perfect, still clear, despite the comings and goings of the day. The young monk sits in meditation, a smile on his face, as he realizes that the peace he has been seeking has been within him all along, as close as his own breath, as clear as the mirror on the wall. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the mirror that reflects them, the space in which they arise and fall away. This space is always clear, always calm, always at peace. Breathe in, breathe out. You are the mirror, not the dust. You are free. Let the image of the bronze mirror in the bamboo monastery soften, as if the light reflecting from its surface is dissolving into the twilight. Now, let your mind journey to a sun-dappled forest in ancient India, where the air hums with the sound of bees and the scent of sandalwood. The year is sometime around the 5th century BC, and beneath a sprawling banyan tree, its roots spreading like fingers into the earth, a group of disciples sits in a circle, their robes the color of the earth. At the center, a man with a calm, radiant presence speaks, his voice like a gentle breeze. This is the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, sharing his wisdom with those who have gathered to listen. Breathe in deeply, letting the warm air of this ancient forest fill your lungs, carrying with it the promise of insight. Exhale slowly, feeling any tension in your body melt into the soft earth beneath you, as if the very ground is supporting you, holding you in this moment of peace. Notice how the sunlight filters through the leaves, creating a mosaic of light and shadow on the faces of the disciples. How each word the Buddha speaks hangs in the air like a drop of dew, pure and clear, On this particular day, a young man approaches. A circle, his face contorted with pain and confusion. He has traveled far, his sandals dusty, his clothes torn, and as he kneels before the Buddha, he winces, clutching his side. "I have heard you teach about suffering, O enlightened one," he says, his voice strained, "but I do not understand. Why must we suffer? And what can we do to end it?" The Buddha looks at him with compassion, his eyes reflecting the suffering he sees. "Tell me," he says, "have you ever seen someone wounded by an arrow?" The young man nods. "Yes, I have. I saw a man shot by an arrow in battle. The pain was terrible to witness." "And what did you observe?" the Buddha asks. "The man cried out in agony," the young man replies. "He struggled. He cursed his attacker. He feared that he would die. The arrow caused him great pain, but his reaction to it seemed to make it worse." The Buddha smiles gently. "You speak wisely," he says. "When a person is shot by an arrow, they experience two kinds of pain: the pain of the arrow itself, and the pain of their reaction to it, the fear, the anger, the resistance. The first arrow is the unavoidable suffering of life, illness, old age, loss, disappointment. These are the natural consequences of being alive, of having a body and a mind that are subject to change. The second arrow is the suffering we add to ourselves through our thoughts, our judgments, our resistance to what is. This is the suffering we can choose to let go of." Majjhima Nikaya 44. Breathe in, letting this distinction settle in your awareness. The first arrow and the second arrow, the pain that is unavoidable and the pain that is optional. Exhale, and with that breath, release any tendency to add to your own suffering through resistance or judgment. In this moment, you can choose to meet life's difficulties with acceptance rather than struggle. The teaching of the two arrows is one of the most practical in all of Buddhism, offering a clear framework for understanding why we suffer and how we can find relief. The first arrow is the raw experience of pain, the physical ache of a headache, the emotional sting of rejection, the mental discomfort of uncertainty. These are not pleasant, but they are temporary. They arise, peak, and then fade away, like waves in the ocean. The second arrow is what happens when we cling to that pain, when we tell ourselves stories about it. Why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening. I can't stand this. These stories keep the pain alive, turning a momentary discomfort into a prolonged ordeal. They are the product of our mind's tendency to resist what is, to want things to be different than they are. Buddha explored this in the Four Noble Truths, which form the foundation of his teaching. The first truth is that life is characterized by dukkha, word often translated as suffering, but which more accurately means unsatisfactoriness, discomfort, or the inability to find lasting happiness in impermanent things. The second truth is that this dukkha arises from tanha, craving, clinging, attachment to what we want, and aversion to what we don't want. In the context of the two arrows, dukkha is the first arrow, and tanha is the second arrow, the clinging to the idea that we should not be suffering, that things should be different. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind a recent experience of pain or discomfort, a physical pain, an emotional hurt, a moment of stress or frustration. Notice the first arrow, the raw sensation, the immediate experience. Then notice the second arrow, the thoughts that arose around it, the judgments, the resistance, the stories you told yourself about it. See how the second arrow amplifies the pain, how it turns a momentary experience into something that lingers, that weighs on you. From a modern psychological perspective, the second arrow is closely linked to what psychologists call rumination, the tendency to negative thoughts and feelings, replaying them in our minds over and over again. Rumination is a form of self-talk that focuses on the causes, consequences, and meanings of our negative experiences. And it is strongly associated with anxiety and depression. When we ruminate, we are essentially shooting ourselves with the second arrow over and over again. Neuroscience research shows that rumination activates the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions, particularly fear and anger, and keeps it in a state of heightened arousal. This creates a feedback loop. The more we ruminate, the more anxious or angry we feel. The more anxious or angry we feel, the more we ruminate. It's like a car with its accelerator stuck, spinning its wheels but going nowhere, draining energy, and creating more and more stress. The young man in the story nods slowly, beginning to understand. So the first arrow is unavoidable, he says, but the second arrow is our choice. Not exactly a choice, the Buddha replies, for it arises from habit, from the conditioning of the mind. But it is a habit we can change with awareness and practice. When we learn to recognize the second arrow as it is being knocked, when we see the thoughts of resistance, judgment, and fear arising, we can choose to put down the bow. This is the practice of mindful acceptance, the ability to meet our experience with openness and curiosity, rather than resistance. Mindful acceptance does not mean liking what is happening or pretending that it doesn't hurt. It means acknowledging the pain, allowing it to be present, and choosing not to add to it with our thoughts and reactions. Research has shown that practicing mindful acceptance can reduce the intensity and duration of emotional pain, improve our ability to cope with stress, and increase our overall sense of well-being. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine that you are holding a bow in your hands with an arrow knocked and ready to shoot. This is the second arrow, the thoughts and reactions that would add to your suffering. Exhale, and with that breath, imagine lowering the bow, letting the arrow fall harmlessly to the ground. You are not denying the pain of the first arrow. You are simply choosing not to shoot yourself with the second dot in the days that follow. The young man practices this teaching. When he experiences pain, a headache, a harsh word from a friend, a disappointment, he pauses and asks himself, is this the first arrow or the second? He learns to distinguish between the raw experience of pain and the stories he tells himself about it. He finds that when he stops adding stories, the pain loses much of its power. It is still there, but it is no longer overwhelming. He discovers that the second arrow often takes predictable forms. The why me arrow, that this shouldn't be arrow, the I can't stand this arrow. By recognizing these patterns, he is able to catch himself before he shoots them, to pause and breathe, to choose a different response. This is the practice of cognitive restructuring, identifying negative thought patterns and replacing them with more balanced, realistic ones. Instead of thinking, this shouldn't be happening, we can think, this is happening, and I can cope with it. Instead of thinking, I can't stand this, we can think, this is difficult, but it will pass, and I have the strength to endure it. These are not empty platitudes. They are more accurate reflections of reality, and they help to disarm the second arrow dot. So what does it mean to practice putting down the second arrow in your daily life? It means waking up with a headache and thinking, this hurts, rather than, why does this always happen to me? It means receiving a criticism at work and thinking, this feedback is difficult to hear, but I can learn from it, rather than, I'm a failure. It means lying in bed at night, unable to sleep, and thinking, my mind is busy right now, and that's okay, rather than, I'll never get to sleep, and I'll be a wreck tomorrow. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup and the clear mirror with the wisdom of the two arrows. Lie quietly in bed, and as you notice discomfort arising, whether physical, emotional, or mental, see if you can distinguish between the first arrow and the second. Notice the first arrow, the raw sensation, the immediate experience. Name it. If you wish, tension in the shoulders, sadness, worried thoughts. Then notice the second arrow, the judgments, the resistance, the stories. Name those too. This shouldn't be. I need this to stop. I'm never going to feel better. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently. This is the first arrow. I feel it, and it is passing. I do not need to shoot the second. Breathe in and feel the space between you and your pain. Breathe out and let that space expand, letting the pain be there without resistance. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate the first arrow. That is impossible, for pain is a natural part of life. The goal is to stop shooting ourselves with the second arrow, to stop adding to our own suffering through our thoughts and reactions. This does not mean that we become passive or indifferent to our pain. It means that we meet it with wisdom and compassion, knowing that resistance only makes it worse. As the Buddha might say, the wise person tends to the wound of the first arrow with care, but does not compound it with the second. They understand that pain is temporary, that resistance only prolongs it, and that peace comes not from avoiding pain, but from meeting it with acceptance. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation. In the ancient forest, the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the banyan tree, and the disciples gathered beneath it. The young man sits quietly, a look of peace on his face, as he realizes that suffering is not an enemy to be fought, but a teacher to be listened to, a teacher that can show him the way to greater compassion, both for himself and for others. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, life will shoot arrows at you, but you do not have to shoot yourself. You can meet pain with acceptance, resistance with surrender, and find peace even in the midst of difficulty. Breathe in, breathe out. The first arrow may come, but the second is yours to release. You are free. Let the golden light of the ancient Indian forest fade, as if the sun has dipped below the horizon and left only the memory of its warmth. Now let your mind drift to a wide, slow-moving river, its waters glistening like liquid silver in the moonlight. The air is cool and damp, carrying the earthy scent of moss and wet stone, and along the banks, fireflies flicker like scattered stars, their light reflected in the water surface. Somewhere in the distance, a night bird calls, its cry echoing across the river before dissolving into the silence. This is a place of transition, a threshold between what was and what will be, and it is here that another of the Buddha's teachings waits to unfold. Breathe in deeply, letting the cool, misty air of the riverbank fill your lungs, carrying with it a sense of possibility. Exhale slowly, feeling any remaining tension in your body flow away like water, as if the river itself is drawing it out of you and carrying it downstream. Notice how the moonlight plays on the water, how the current moves steadily, unhurried, as if it has all the time in the world. This is the rhythm of life: constant movement, constant change, and yet, beneath it all, a quiet stability. On this particular night, a group of travelers has gathered on the riverbank, their faces illuminated by the light of a small campfire. They are tired, their clothes dusty from the journey, and they sit huddled together, talking in low voices about the wide river before them and the unfamiliar land on the other side. They have heard stories of this river, of its strong currents, its hidden rocks, its depth that can swallow a man whole, in fear has settled over them like a thick fog. Just then, the Buddha approaches, his presence calm and reassuring, like the steady flow of the river itself. The travelers look up, hope flickering in their eyes, and one of them stands, bowing deeply. "Enlightened one," he says, "we are stuck here on this bank, and we do not know how to cross. We are afraid, and we do not know what to do. Please Teach us how to reach the other side." The Buddha smiles, his eyes reflecting the firelight. "Tell me," he says, "if you wanted to cross this river, what would you do?" The traveler thinks for a moment. "I would build a raft," he says. "I would gather logs and bind them together then. Use it to float across to the other side." "Wisely said," the Buddha replies. "A raft would serve you well. It would keep you afloat, carry you safely through the current, protect you from the rocks. With a raft, you could cross this river and reach the other side." The traveler nods, but his brow remains furrowed. "But once I reach the other side, what should I do with the raft? It served me well, and I am grateful for it. Should I carry it with me to honor it for helping me cross?" The Buddha laughs softly, a sound like water flowing over smooth stones. "What would be the point of that?" he asks. "The raft served its purpose to carry you across the river. Once you are on the other side, there is no need to carry it. To do so would only burden you, slowing your journey, making it more difficult. You would say, 'This raft helped me cross the river, so I must keep it with me always.' But in doing so, you would turn a useful tool into a heavy load. Now once you reach the other side, you leave the raft behind, grateful for its service, but free to move forward without it." Majjhima Nikaya 22. Breathe in, letting this image settle in your mind. The raft, the river, the journey from one bank to the other. Exhale, and with that breath, release any tools, methods, or beliefs that have served their purpose but now weigh you down. In this moment, you can be grateful for what has helped you without feeling the need to cling to it forever. The parable of the raft is one of the Buddha's most famous teachings, offering a powerful metaphor for understanding the nature of his teachings and indeed all spiritual and psychological practices. The raft represents the methods, techniques, and beliefs that help us navigate the river of life, the suffering, the uncertainty, the challenges that separate us from peace and freedom. These tools are essential. They help us cross the river, to move from a place of confusion and pain to a place of clarity and ease. But the Buddha's point is clear. The raft is not the destination. It is a means to an end, not an end in itself. Too often, we confuse the tools with the goal. We become attached to a particular meditation technique, a specific philosophy, a certain way of thinking, and we believe that this is the only way, the right way. We carry the raft with us long after we've crossed the river, burdened by our attachment to the method, rather than enjoying the freedom of the other side. This is what the Buddha called upadana clinging or grasping, and it is one of the three roots of suffering, along with ignorance and aversion. Upadana is the tendency to hold on to things as if they are permanent, as if they define us, as if they are essential to our happiness. In the context of the raft, upadana is the belief that we must cling to the tools that helped us, even when they are no longer needed. Buddha explored this idea in the Diamond Sutra, where he says, "All conditioned things are like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow, like dew or like frost. Thus ought you to view them." Vajrakittika Prajnaparamita Sutra. This does not mean that conditioned things, including the Buddhist teachings, are not real or useful. It means that they are impermanent, dependent on conditions, and not worth clinging to as if they are absolute truths. They are like the raft, real, useful, but ultimately temporary. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind the tools and methods you use to cope with life's challenges, the meditation practices, the self-help strategies, the beliefs about yourself, and the world that help you feel safe and in control. Notice how these tools have helped you cross your own rivers, how they have carried you through difficult times. Then ask yourself, are you still using any of these tools even when they are no longer needed? Are you carrying any rafts on your back long after you've reached the other side? From a modern psychological perspective, the attachment to rafts is closely linked to what psychologists call cognitive rigidity, a tendency to hold on to beliefs and behaviors even when they are no longer effective. Cognitive rigidity is associated with anxiety, depression, and difficulty adapting to change. When we are cognitively rigid, we see the world in black and white. There is only one right way to do things. Only one right way to think, and we become anxious or defensive when faced with alternative approaches. This rigidity often stems from a deep-seated fear of uncertainty. We cling to our rafts because they give us a sense of control, a feeling of safety in an unpredictable world. We believe that if we just hold on tight enough, if we just follow the method perfectly, we can avoid suffering, avoid change, avoid the unknown. But as the Buddha teaches, this is an illusion. Life is inherently uncertain, and clinging to rigid beliefs and methods only increases our suffering when things inevitably change. The travelers in the story look at each other, beginning to understand. "So your teachings are like the raft," one of them says. "They help us cross the river of suffering, but once we reach the other side, we do not need to cling to them." "Exactly," the Buddha replies. "My teachings are a finger pointing to the moon. If you focus only on the finger, you will miss the moon. They are a raft to carry you across the river. If you cling to the raft, you will never reach the other side. Use them, but do not be used by them. Learn from them, but do not become prisoners of them. They are for crossing over, not for grasping." This is the practice of flexible engagement, using tools and methods when they are helpful, and letting them go when they are not. It is the ability to adapt, to be open to new approaches, to recognize that what works in one situation may not work in another. Research has shown that psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt to changing circumstances, to let go of unhelpful thoughts and behaviors, is strongly associated with well-being, resilience, and mental health. It allows us to navigate life's rivers with ease, using whatever raft is needed in the moment, without becoming attached to any single one. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine yourself standing on the riverbank, holding a raft in your hands. This raft represents a tool, a method, or a belief that has helped you in the past. Exhale, and with that breath, imagine placing the raft gently on the water, watching it float away downstream. You are not rejecting it. You are simply acknowledging that you no longer need it, that you are ready to move forward without it in the days that follow. The travelers build their rafts and cross the river one by one. Some build simple rafts, others more elaborate ones, but each serves its purpose. When they reach the other side, they leave their rafts behind, and as they walk away, they feel a lightness they have never known before. They realize that the freedom they sought is not in the raft, but in the ability to use it without clinging to it, to let it go when the time comes. One traveler, however, hesitates. He has built a beautiful raft, carefully crafted from the finest logs, and he is proud of it. He cannot bear to leave it behind, so he straps it to his back and tries to walk forward. But the raft is heavy, and soon he is struggling, sweating, falling behind the others. He watches as they move ahead, light and free, while he is burdened by his attachment to his creation. Finally, he stops, looks at the raft on his back, and laughs at his own foolishness. He unstraps it, leaves it by the riverbank, and runs to catch up, feeling lighter and freer than ever before. This is the danger of attachment to our own rafts. We become so proud of the tools we have created, so invested in our own methods, that we cannot let them go, even when they are holding us back. We think, "This is my way, and it works for me," without realizing that our way may be keeping us stuck, preventing us from growing and evolving. So what does it mean to practice leaving the raft behind in your daily life? It means meditating, when it feels nourishing, and taking a walk when it doesn't, without feeling that you're failing at your practice. It means using positive affirmations when they lift you up and letting them go when they feel forced or inauthentic. It means holding on to beliefs that serve you. I am capable. I am loved. Life is full of possibilities, without insisting that these beliefs are absolute truths, without becoming defensive when someone sees things differently. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup, the clear mirror, and the two arrows with the wisdom of the raft. Lie quietly in bed and bring to mind a tool, a method, or a belief that has helped you in the past, a meditation technique, a self-care ritual, a way of thinking about yourself or the world. Notice how this raft has served you, how it has helped you cross difficult rivers in your life. Acknowledge your gratitude for it, letting that feeling of appreciation fill your heart. Then ask yourself, is this raft still serving me, or has it become a burden? Is it helping me move forward, or is it holding me back? If it is still serving you, commit to using it with awareness, without clinging. If it has become a burden, imagine placing it gently on the river of your breath, watching it float away as you exhale, free to move forward without it. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, I am grateful for the raft that carried me. I release it now, and I walk forward in freedom. Breathe in and feel the lightness of letting go. Breathe out and let that lightness fill your entire being. Remember, the goal is not to reject all tools and methods. That would be like trying to cross the river without a raft. The goal is to use them with wisdom and discernment, to recognize when they are helpful and when they are not, to be grateful for their service without clinging to them. This is the path of flexibility, of adaptability, of freedom. As the Buddha might say, the wise person uses the raft to cross the river, then leaves it behind. They do not confuse the tool with the goal, the method with the freedom it is meant to bring. They are like the river itself, flowing, adapting, moving forward without attachment. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation. On the riverbank, the fire has burned down to embers, casting a warm glow over the travelers as they sleep. Their rafts are tied securely to the trees, ready for the journey ahead, but their minds are free from attachment, open to whatever tomorrow may bring. They know that the river of life will continue to flow, that new challenges will arise, and that they will need new rafts to navigate them. But for now, they rest, grateful for the night, for the river, for the freedom that comes from letting go. And so it is for you, as we move forward, carrying this lesson with us. Remember, life is a series of rivers to cross, and each requires a different raft. Be willing to build them, use them, and leave them behind, and you will find that the journey becomes lighter, easier, more joyful. Breathe in, breathe out. The raft has served you well. Now let it go. You are free. Let the image of the river and the floating raft drift away, carried downstream by the current, until it fades into the distance. Now, turn your attention to a quiet courtyard in a Zen temple, where the air is filled with the scent of incense and the soft rustle of paper screens moving in the breeze. The ground is covered with smooth stones, worn smooth by the feet of generations of monks, and in the center stands a tall cypress tree, its trunk thick and gnarled, its branches reaching toward the sky like outstretched arms. The sunlight filters through its leaves, casting dappled shadows on the stones below, and somewhere a bell rings, its sound clear and resonant, marking the passing of time. This is a place of stillness, of presence, of the ordinary made extraordinary. By attention, breathe in deeply, letting the scent of incense and pine fill your lungs, grounding you in this moment. Exhale slowly, feeling any restlessness in your body settle, as if the very stones beneath you are drawing you down into a state of calm. Notice how the cypress tree stands unmoving, unchanging, rooted deeply in the earth, yet reaching toward the heavens. This is the balance of life, grounded in the present, connected to something greater. In this courtyard, a monk sits beneath the cypress tree, his posture upright but relaxed, his eyes closed in meditation. His name is Zhao Zhu, and he is known throughout the land for his wisdom. A wisdom that often comes in the form of simple, direct answers that cut through the complexity of the mind. Students travel from far and wide to seek his guidance, hoping to find enlightenment through his teachings. One day, a young monk approaches Zhao Zhou, his face eager, his mind filled with questions. He has studied the sutras, memorized the teachings, and practiced meditation for years, but he still feels a sense of restlessness, a longing for something more. Master Zhao Zhou, he says, bowing deeply, what is the essence of Zen? What is the path to enlightenment? Zhao Zhou opens his eyes, looking at the young monk with a smile. He does not launch into a long explanation, does not quote from ancient texts, does not offer a complicated practice. Instead, he simply says, the cypress in the courtyard. The young monk is confused. But master, he says, I have seen that cypress tree every day since I arrived. It is just a tree. What does it have to do with Zen? What does it have to do with enlightenment? Zhao Zhou closes his eyes again, as if the question has already been answered. The cypress in the courtyard. He repeats, his voice calm, matter of fact. Breathe in, letting this simplicity settle in your mind. The master, the monk, the tree. Exhale, and with that breath, release any need for complicated answers, for profound insights, for something more than what is right in front of you. In this moment, the cypress tree is enough. In this moment, you are enough. The story of Zhao Zhu. And the cypress tree is one of the most famous koans in Zen Buddhism. A koan is a story, dialogue, or question that is meant to disrupt ordinary patterns of thinking, to cut through the conceptual mind and point directly to the nature of reality. Unlike a riddle, a koan does not have a correct answer. Its purpose is to provoke a shift in consciousness, to help the practitioner realize that truth cannot be captured in words or concepts. Zhao's answer, the cypress in the courtyard, is a perfect example of this. It refuses to engage with the young monk's conceptual search for enlightenment, instead pointing to something ordinary, something present, something that cannot be argued with or analyzed. The cypress tree is just a tree, and yet, in its ordinariness, it contains the essence of Zen, presence, reality, the isness of things. This is the teaching of Tathata, a Sanskrit word meaning suchness or thusness, the idea that things are just as they are, without any need for interpretation, judgment, or conceptual overlay. Tathata is the recognition that reality is present in each moment, in each thing, if we can only let go of our tendency to label, categorize, and analyze. The cypress tree is a cypress tree, nothing more, nothing less, and in that simple fact, there is enlightenment. Buddha hinted at this in the Avatamsaka Sutra, where he says, in a particle of dust, there are countless worlds. In each world, countless Buddhas. This is not a statement of physics, but of perception. It suggests that the entire universe, with all its wisdom and beauty, is present in the smallest, most ordinary things if we have eyes to see. The cypress tree in the courtyard is like that particle of dust. It contains the essence of Zen, the path to enlightenment, if we can let go of our need to look elsewhere. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind something ordinary in your life. Chair, a cup, a blade of grass, the sound of your breath. Notice how your mind immediately wants to label it, to think about it, to turn it into a concept. That's a chair, you might think. I sit in it to eat or work. But beyond that label, beyond those thoughts, what is it really? Can you see it as it is without the story? Can you feel its suckness, its inherent reality? From a modern psychological perspective, Gaoju's teaching is a powerful antidote to what psychologists call conceptual elaboration, the tendency of the mind to generate thoughts, judgments, and stories about our experience, rather than simply experiencing it. Conceptual elaboration is part of the default mode network, the same brain network associated with rumination and self-referential thinking. While it is useful for planning, problem-solving, and making sense of the world, it can also disconnect us from direct experience, trapping us in a world of thoughts about reality rather than reality itself. Research has shown that reducing conceptual elaboration through practices like mindfulness can increase feelings of happiness and well-being, reduce anxiety and depression, and improve our ability to appreciate the present moment. When we stop thinking about our experience and simply experience it, we open ourselves up to the richness and beauty of life as it is, rather than as we think it should be. The young monk in the story struggles with this. He is so caught up in his conceptual search for enlightenment that he cannot see it right in front of him. He thinks enlightenment must be something extraordinary, something far away, something that requires years of study and practice. He does not realize that enlightenment is just seeing things as they are, the cypress tree as a cypress tree, himself as himself, this moment as this moment. In the days that follow, the young monk spends more time in the courtyard, sitting beneath the cypress tree, trying to understand Gaoju's words. At first, he continues to think about the tree, to analyze it, to wonder what it means. But gradually, something shifts. He stops thinking and starts really seeing the rough texture of the bark, the way the leaves catch the light, the sound of the wind moving through its branches. He notices how the tree changes with the seasons, how its leaves turn yellow in autumn, how it stands bare in winter, how new growth emerges in spring. And through this seeing, he begins to understand the cypress tree is not a symbol of enlightenment. It is enlightenment in its most ordinary form. This is the practice of direct perception, experiencing the world without the filter of conceptual thought. It is not about emptying the mind of thoughts, but about not being lost in them, about being able to step back and see things as they are. Direct perception is the foundation of mindfulness, and it is accessible to all of us in every moment, if we can just remember to look, breathe in deeply, and as you do, let your attention rest on things in your immediate experience. The feeling of the air on your skin, the sound of a distant bird, the taste of saliva in your mouth. Exhale, and with that breath, let go of any thoughts about it, any labels or judgments. Just experience it directly, fully, as it is. The young monk's transformation is not sudden or dramatic. It is a gradual softening of his conceptual mind, a growing ability to rest in direct experience. He still studies the sutras, still practices meditation, but now these practices are rooted in presence, not in a search for something outside himself. He realizes that enlightenment is not a destination to be reached, but a way of seeing to be cultivated, a way of seeing the cypress tree and everything else as they are. This is the paradox of Zen. The most profound truths are found in the most ordinary places, but we must let go of our search for profundity to find them. We look for enlightenment in temples and retreat centers, in books and teachings, in exotic locations and extraordinary experiences. But it is always right here, right now, in the cypress tree, in the courtyard, in the sound of our breath, in the beating of our heart. So what does it mean to practice seeing the cypress in the courtyard in your daily life? It means pausing while washing dishes to really feel the warmth of the water, the texture of the plate, the sound of the water hitting the sink. It means walking down the street and noticing the way the light falls on a building, the color of the sky, the faces of the people around you, without thinking about where you're going or what you need to do next. It means lying in bed at night and listening to the silence, feeling the weight of your body on the mattress, experiencing the simple fact of being alive without the need to think about the past or the future. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup, the clear mirror, the two arrows, and the raft with the wisdom of the cypress tree. Lie quietly in bed and let your attention rest on your immediate experience, whatever it is. It might be the sound of your breath, the feeling of your heart beating, the temperature of the air on your skin, or a distant sound from outside. Whatever it is, just experience it directly, without labeling it, without thinking about it, without trying to change it. If thoughts arise, that's okay, just notice them as thoughts. Then gently return your attention to your direct experience. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, "This moment is enough. This is it. I am here." Breathe in and feel the reality of this moment, its suckness, its isness. Breathe out and let yourself sink into it, fully and completely. Remember, the goal is not to have some extraordinary experience or to achieve a state of permanent enlightenment. The goal is simply to see things as they are, in this moment, without the filter of conceptual thought. This is the essence of Zen, the path to peace, and it is available to you in every moment. If you can just remember to look. As Jiao might say, enlightenment is not something you find. It's something you realize you've had all along. In the cypress tree, in the sound of the bell, in the beating of your own heart. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation. In the courtyard, the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the cypress tree and the stones below. Zhao Zhu still sits beneath the tree, his eyes closed, a smile on his face. The young monk sits beside him, no longer filled with questions, no longer longing for something more. He has learned to see the cypress tree, and in seeing it, he has learned to see himself, to see this moment as enough. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us. Remember, the extraordinary is hidden in the ordinary, the profound in the simple, enlightenment in the cypress tree in the courtyard. All you need to do is look and see. Breathe in, breathe out. The cypress tree is here, and so are you. You are free. Let the image of the cypress tree in the courtyard soften, as if the setting sun has kissed its leaves one last time before dipping below the horizon. Now, turn your attention to a mountain path, where the air is thick with the scent of wet earth and pine, and the sound of rain fills the world like a gentle lullaby. The path is muddy, lined with stones that glisten in the damp light, and along its edges, wildflowers bow their heads beneath the raindrops, their petals trembling but unbroken. Somewhere above, a stream rushes down the mountain, its waters swollen by the rain, carrying the sound of movement and renewal. This is a place of transition, where the harshness of the storm meets the softness of growth, and where two unlikely teachers wait to share their wisdom. Breathe in deeply, letting the cool, damp air fill your lungs, carrying with it the promise of growth and renewal. Exhale slowly, feeling any resistance in your body melt away, as if the rain is washing it clean, leaving only a sense of softness and openness. Notice how the rain falls, not with force, but with persistence, each drop, contributing to something greater, each drop necessary for life. This is the power of softness. It endures, it adapts, it transforms. On this path, two figures walk side by side, their robes soaked through, their hair plastered to their heads, but their faces alight with joy. One is named Hanshan, known for his wild hair and tattered robes, his poems written on rocks and trees, full of wisdom and wit. The other is Shide, his companion, equally eccentric, equally wise, the two of them forming a bond that transcends words. They are outcasts in the eyes of many, but to those who know how to listen, they are teachers of the highest order. As they walk, the rain intensifies, and Hanshan laughs, a sound like water bubbling from a spring. Do you see how the rain falls? Shied, he says, it does not fight the earth. It yields to it, and in yielding, it brings life. The flowers drink it in, the trees soak it up, the earth rejoices in it. Yet we humans fight the rain, run from it, curse it for disrupting our plans. We think softness is weakness, but look at what softness can do. Shied nods, pointing to a patch of lotus flowers growing in a small pond beside the path. The lotus leaves are round and flat, and as the rain falls on them, the drops beat up and roll off, leaving the leaves clean and dry. The lotus does not fight the rain either, he says. It bends beneath the drops, lets them roll away, and continues to grow. It grows in the mud, remember? In the darkest, muckiest places, and yet it produces the most beautiful flowers. What does that teach us? Hanshin smiles. It teaches us that softness is not weakness, he says. It teaches us that we can grow through difficulty, that the mud and the rain are not enemies, but partners in our growth. It teaches us that to resist suffering is to make it stronger, but to yield to it, to let it pass through us, is to let it transform us. A traveler, huddled under a tree, trying to stay dry, overhears their conversation. He calls out, his voice tight with frustration. You speak of yielding and softness, but you do not know my suffering. I have lost my home, my possessions, everything I worked for. How can I yield to that? How can I find beauty in that kind of mud? Hanshan and Shied stop, turning to face the traveler. Hanshan's eyes are full of compassion, not judgment. Tell me, he says, when the lotus is in the mud, does it curse the mud? Does it struggle to get out, to be somewhere else? No, it uses the mud, draws nourishment from it, grows because of it. The mud is not the enemy. It is the foundation. Your suffering is like that mud. It is not there to break you. It is there to teach you, to nourish you, to help you grow into something more beautiful than you were before. Hanshin and Shied. 8th century, breathe in, letting this image settle in your mind. The lotus, the mud, the rain, the two wise teachers. Exhale, and with that breath, release any resistance to the difficulties in your life, any struggle against the mud that you find yourself in. In this moment, you can be like the lotus soft, resilient, capable of growing through even the darkest circumstances. The teachings of Hanshan and Shied are rooted in the Buddhist principle of dukkha and vipassana suffering and insight. They recognize that suffering is an inevitable part of life, but they also understand that suffering can be a powerful teacher if we approach it with the right attitude. The lotus is a powerful symbol in Buddhism, representing the potential for enlightenment, for growth, for beauty, even in the midst of suffering. Just as the lotus grows from the mud, we too can grow from our pain if we do not resist it. This idea is explored in the Sutta Nipata, where the Buddha says, just as a lotus flower grows out of the mud and yet is not soiled by it, so too the wise person lives in the world and yet is not soiled by the world. This does not mean that the wise person does not experience suffering. It means that they do not let suffering define them, that they do not get soiled by it, that they use it as a foundation for growth. The lotus also symbolizes the practice of non-resistance, not in the sense of passivity or resignation, but in the sense of meeting life on its own terms, of working with what is rather than against it. When we resist suffering, we create more suffering. When we yield to it, when we accept it as part of life, we give ourselves the space to grow through it. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind a difficult situation in your life, the mud that you are currently wading through. It might be a loss, a disappointment, a relationship struggle, or a personal challenge. Notice how your body reacts to thinking about it. Tension in your shoulders, a tightness in your chest, a furrow in your brow. This is resistance, and it is natural. But now, imagine yourself as the lotus, rooted in that mud, drawing nourishment from it, growing, stronger because of it. How does that feel? Can you sense a softening, a willingness to meet this difficulty with openness rather than resistance? From a modern psychological perspective, the practice of non-resistance is closely linked to what psychologists call emotional acceptance, the willingness to experience negative emotions without trying to avoid them, suppress them, or change them. Research has shown that emotional acceptance is associated with lower levels of anxiety and depression, better emotional regulation, and greater overall well-being. When we accept our emotions, even the painful ones, we reduce their power over us, allowing them to run their natural course and fade away, rather than getting stuck in a cycle of resistance and suffering. The traveler in the story is caught in this cycle of resistance. He sees his suffering as an enemy, something to be fought against, something that has no purpose other than to hurt him. He does not realize that his resistance is what is causing most of his pain, that his refusal to yield is making the burden heavier, the path harder. Henshin and Shide are inviting him to shift his perspective, to see his suffering not as a curse, but as a teacher, not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone. This is not easy. It requires a radical shift in how we relate to pain and difficulty. But it is a shift that can transform our lives, turning suffering into strength, mud into beauty. In the days that follow, the traveler thinks about Hanshan's words. He begins to notice the lotus flowers in the pond, how they bend in the wind, but do not break, how they grow taller after the rain. He starts to see his own suffering in a new light, not as something to be cursed, but as something to be understood, something that has shaped him, something that might even make him stronger. He begins to practice softness, to let himself feel his pain without running from it, to talk about it with others instead of hiding it, to take small steps forward instead of trying to leap over the mud. And as he does, he notices something remarkable. The pain does not disappear, but it becomes more bearable. It no longer defines him. It becomes part of his story, but not the whole story. Like the lotus, he begins to grow through the mud rather than in spite of it. This is the practice of resilience, the ability to adapt to difficult circumstances, to bounce back from setbacks, to grow through adversity. Resilience is not something we are born with. It is something we cultivate, and it is closely linked to our ability to accept suffering rather than resist it. Research has shown that resilient people are not immune to pain. They simply have a different relationship with it. They see it as temporary, as something that can be learned from, as something that does not define their worth or their future. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine yourself as the lotus, rooted in the mud of your own suffering, but reaching toward the light. Exhale, and with that breath, let yourself soften into that reality, letting go of resistance, letting go of the need to be somewhere else, someone else. Just be where you are, and trust that growth is possible. The traveler's transformation is not sudden. It is a gradual softening, a willingness to meet his pain with compassion rather than anger, with curiosity rather than fear. He still misses his home. He still feels the loss, but he no longer lets those feelings consume him. He has learned to be like the lotus, soft, resilient, open to growth. This is the paradox of growth. It often comes not from ease and comfort, but from difficulty and struggle. The lotus does not grow in the cleanest water. It grows in the mud. We do not grow when everything is easy. We grow when we are challenged, when we are forced to stretch beyond our comfort zones, when we are faced with the mud of life. So what does it mean to practice being a lotus in the rain in your daily life? It means allowing yourself to feel sadness when something is lost, rather than trying to be strong and push it away. It means acknowledging frustration when things don't go your way, rather than pretending it doesn't matter. It means sitting with uncertainty when the future is unclear, rather than trying to control every outcome. It means recognizing that the mud and the rain are part of life, and that they can help you grow if you let them. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup, the clear mirror, the two arrows, the raft, and the cypress tree with the wisdom of the lotus in the rain. Lie quietly in bed and bring to mind a difficult situation in your life, the mud that you are currently experiencing, instead of pushing it away or dwelling on how unfair it is. Simply acknowledge it, like you would acknowledge the rain. Say to yourself, this is difficult, and it is part of my life right now. Like the lotus, I can grow through this. Then, imagine yourself as a lotus flower, rooted in that mud, surrounded by rain, but still reaching toward the light. Feel the softness of your petals, the strength of your roots, your ability to grow and thrive despite the circumstances. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, I am soft, I am strong, I grow through what nourishes me. Breathe in and feel the strength that comes from softness, from acceptance, from resilience. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into that truth. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate suffering. That is impossible in this life. The goal is to change your relationship with suffering, to stop seeing it as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher, to stop resisting it and start growing through it. This is the path of the lotus, and it is available to you in every moment, no matter how deep the mud. As Han Shan might say, the rain falls on everyone, but only those who let it water, their roots will grow. The mud is there for a reason. Let it nourish you. Let it teach you. Let it help you become the most beautiful version of yourself. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation. On the mountain path, the rain begins to ease. An ray of sunlight breaks through the clouds, casting a rainbow over the pond where the lotus flowers grow. Han Shan and Shide continue their journey, laughing and talking, their spirits undimmed by the storm. The traveler follows them, his step lighter, his heart softer, as he begins to understand that the mud and the rain are not obstacles, but part of the path. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, you are like the lotus in the rain, soft, resilient, capable of growing through even the darkest circumstances. The mud is your foundation, the rain is your teacher, and beauty is your destiny. Breathe in, breathe out. You are the lotus, and you are growing. You are free. Let the image of the lotus in the rain fade gently as the last drops of water slide off its petals and the rainbow over the pond dissolves into the gathering dusk. Now, turn your attention to a small cave high in the Himalayan mountains where the air is thin and crisp, carrying the scent of snow and pine. The cave is dark, but not completely. Sunlight filters through a narrow opening, casting a single beam of light that illuminates thousands of dust particles dancing in the air. In the center of the cave, a small fire burns, its flames flickering softly, casting shadows on the stone walls that seem to move like ancient spirits. This is a place of silence, of stillness, of connection to something deeper than the noise of the world. Breathe in deeply, letting the cold, clear air fill your lungs, carrying with it the purity of the mountains. Exhale slowly, feeling any remaining noise in your mind quiet down, as if the silence of the cave is seeping into you, replacing the chatter with stillness. Notice how the fire burns, not with urgency, but with a steady, quiet warmth, providing light and heat without fanfare. This is the quiet power of the unmanifest, the potential that exists before action. In this cave, a yogi sits cross-legged on a bed of dried grass, his eyes closed, his body motionless, as if he has been part of the cave for centuries. His name is Nagarjuna, and he is a master of the ancient Indian tradition of Mahayana Buddhism, known for his profound insights into the nature of reality. For years, he has lived in this cave, meditating, contemplating, and sharing his wisdom with the few travelers who are fortunate enough to find their way to him. One day, a young seeker arrives at the cave, her body exhausted from the long journey, her mind restless from years of searching. She has studied with many teachers, practiced countless techniques, and traveled to far-off lands, but she still feels disconnected from the peace she seeks. "Master Nagarjuna," she says, bowing deeply, "I have searched everywhere for inner peace, but I cannot find it. It seems to slip away whenever I think I have grasped it. Where is this peace? How can I find it and keep it?" Nagarjuna opens his eyes, his gaze steady and compassionate, like the mountain that surrounds them. "Tell me," he says, his voice low and resonant like the rumble of distant thunder, "have you ever heard the sound of an unstruck bell?" The young seeker frowns, confused. "An unstruck bell? That doesn't make sense. A bell only makes a sound when it is struck. An unstruck bell is silent. Is it?" Nagarjuna asks. "Or is the sound already present in the bell, waiting to be released?" The bell contains within it the potential for sound, the metal, the shape, the resonance, all the elements that will produce a sound when it is struck. That potential is there, even before the bell is struck, even if it is never struck. It is the essence of the bell, its true nature, beyond the sound it makes. When disturbed, the young seeker thinks for a moment. "I suppose that's true," she says. "But what does that have to do with inner peace?" Nagarjuna smiles. "Your mind is like that bell," he says. "The thoughts, the emotions, the distractions, these are like the sound of the bell being struck. They are temporary, fleeting, the result of causes and conditions. But beneath them, there is the unstruck bell, the quiet, peaceful essence of your mind, the potential for awareness that exists before thought, beyond thought. This is your true nature, and it is always present, even when the bell of your mind is being struck by the noise of the world. You do not need to find peace. You need to remember that it is already within you, as the unstruck bell is within the bell." Nagarjuna, Mulama Jama Kareka, 2nd century CE. Breathe in, letting this image settle in your mind. The bell, unstruck, full of potential, full of quiet. Exhale, and with that breath, release any search for peace outside yourself. Any belief that it is somewhere else, something to be found or earned. In this moment, you are the unstruck bell. Your true nature is peace, and it is already present, waiting to be recognized. That the teaching of the unstruck bell is rooted in the Buddhist concept of svabhav, often translated as inherent nature, or own being. It refers to the idea that all things have an essence, a true nature that exists independently of causes and conditions. In the context of the mind, this inherent nature is peace, clarity, and awareness, the unstruck bell that exists beneath the noise of thought and emotion. This idea is explored in the Udana, a collection of the Buddha's discourses, where he says, "There is an unborn, unoriginated, unmade, unfabricated. If there were not that unborn, unoriginated, unmade, unfabricated, there would be no escape discerned from what is born, originated, made, and fabricated. This unborn, unoriginated, unmade, unfabricated is the unstruck bell, the essence of reality, the ground of being, the peace that lies beyond the changing world of experience." The unstruck bell also symbolizes the practice of shamatha calm abiding meditation, the practice of resting in the natural state of the mind without trying to change it or control it. Shamatha is not about stopping thoughts or achieving a state of blankness. It is about recognizing the unstruck bell beneath the thoughts, the peace that is always present, even when the mind is active. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and imagine your mind as a bell. Notice the thoughts and emotions that arise. They are like the sound of the bell being struck, loud and attention-grabbing. But beneath them, can you sense the quiet, the stillness, the potential that exists before the thought, beyond the thought? This is your unstruck bell, your true nature, and it is always there, even when you cannot hear it. From a modern psychological perspective, the unstruck bell can be understood as the default mode network in its resting state, the brain network associated with self-referential thinking, but when not activated by rumination or distraction. Research has shown that experienced meditators are able to access a state of restful awareness where the default mode network is less active and there is a sense of calm, clarity, and presence. This state is not something they create. It is something they access, something that is always present, waiting to be recognized. The young seeker in the story struggles with this because she is so focused on the sound of the bell, her thoughts, her emotions, her experiences, that she cannot hear the quiet beneath it. She thinks peace is the absence of noise, but Nagaruna is teaching her that peace is the presence of something deeper, the unstruck bell that exists even when the noise is present. In the days that follow, the young seeker practices what Nagaruna has taught her. She sits in meditation, and instead of trying to stop her thoughts, she simply observes them, like someone listening to the sound of a bell being struck, knowing that the bell itself is more than the sound it makes. She begins to sense the quiet beneath her thoughts, the stillness that is always present, and she realizes that this quiet is not something she needs to create or find. It is something she needs to remember, to recognize as her true nature. She notices that the unstruck bell is accessible in every moment, not just during meditation. She feels it when she looks at the fire and sees the flames without thinking about them, when she listens to the wind outside the cave and hears it without judgment, when she tastes the simple food she has brought and savors it without distraction. In these moments, she is not separate from the world around her. She is part of it, connected to it, at peace with it. This is the practice of non-duality, the recognition that the separation between self and other, between inner and outer, is an illusion created by the conceptual mind. When we rest in the unstruck bell, we experience the world as it is, whole, interconnected, alive, without the filter of our thoughts and judgments. Research has shown that experiences of non-duality are associated with increased feelings of well-being, reduced anxiety and depression, and a greater sense of connection to others in the world around us. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine yourself as the unstruck bell, full of quiet potential, full of peace. Exhale, and with that breath, let go of any sense of separation, any feeling that you are separate from the world around you or from the peace you seek. In this moment, you are connected to everything, and peace is your natural state. The young seeker's transformation is not about acquiring something new. It is about remembering something old, something that has always been there. She still has thoughts and emotions. She still experiences joy and pain, but she no longer identifies with them as who she is. She knows that she is the unstruck bell, and the sounds it makes are just temporary expressions of her true nature. This is the paradox of the unstruck bell. It is both nothing and everything. It is nothing in the sense that it has no form, no characteristics, no boundaries. It is everything in the sense that it is the ground of all experience, the potential for all sounds, the essence of all things. It is the peace that passeth all understanding, the stillness that exists beyond the noise of the world. So what does it mean to practice resting in the unstruck bell in your daily life? It means pausing during a busy day to notice the quiet beneath the noise, the stillness, beneath the activity. It means listening to a conversation, not just with your ears, but with your whole being, without planning what you will say next. It means looking at a sunset and being with it, not trying to capture it with a photograph or a comment, but simply experiencing it as it is. It means remembering, in every moment, that peace is not something to be found, but something to be, recognized as your true nature. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup, the clear mirror, the two arrows, the raft, the cypress tree, and the lotus in the rain with the wisdom of the way. Unstruck bell. Lie quietly in bed and let your attention rest on your breath. The natural rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. As you breathe, imagine that each inhale is like lifting a hammer and each exhale is like striking a bell. Notice the sound of your thoughts and emotions, the noise that arises with each strike. But beneath that noise, see if you can sense the unstruck bell, the quiet, the stillness, the peace that is always present, even when the bell is ringing. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, I am the unstruck bell. Peace is my nature. I rest in what is already present. Breathe in and feel the truth of your nature as peace, as stillness, as the unstruck bell. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into that truth, letting go of any effort, any search, any need to be anything other than what you are. Remember, the goal is not to achieve a state of permanent silence or to eliminate all thoughts and emotions. That is impossible. And even if it were, it would not be desirable. The goal is to recognize that beneath the noise, beneath the thoughts and emotions, there is a quiet, peaceful essence that is always present. That is your true nature. This is the unstruck bell, and it is available to you in every moment, if you can just remember to listen for it. As Nagarjuna might say, the bell does not need to be silent to be a bell. It is a bell whether it is struck or not, whether it is making a sound or not. In the same way, you do not need to be free from thoughts or emotions to be at peace. Peace is your nature, whether the bell of your mind is ringing or not. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation, into the quiet of the unstruck bell. In the Himalayan cave, the fire burns low, casting a warm glow over Nagarjuna and the young seeker as they sit in silence. Outside, the wind has died down, and the world is still, as if holding its breath. The young seeker's face is calm, her eyes soft, as she rests in the knowledge that the peace she has been seeking is not somewhere else, but within her, as close as her own breath, as present as the unstruck bell. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, you are the unstruck bell, full of quiet potential, full of peace. The noise of the world may strike you, but it cannot change your true nature. You are peace, and peace is you. Breathe in, breathe out. You are the unstruck bell, and you are at peace. You are free. Let the quiet resonance of the unstruck bell fade into the stillness of the Himalayan cave as the last embers of the fire glow softly like distant stars. Now, turn your attention to a bustling Zen monastery in 8th century China, where the air is filled with the sound of chanting, the clatter of wooden bowls, and the rhythmic sweep of brooms across stone courtyards. The monastery is a hive of activity monks meditating in the main hall, others chopping wood or carrying water, novices hurrying to complete their chores, all moving with a sense of purpose, of mindfulness and action. In the center of this activity, a large courtyard opens up where sunlight pours down, illuminating a young monk who sits cross-legged on the ground, focused intently on a single task. Breathe in deeply, letting the vibrant energy of the monastery fill your lungs, carrying with it the scent of incense, and freshly turned earth. Exhale slowly, feeling any restlessness in your body settle into a sense of purpose, as if the rhythm of the monastery's activity is guiding you into a state of calm focus. Notice how each action, each chop of wood, each step, each breath is done with intention, without hurry, as if the activity itself is a form of meditation. This is the practice of mindfulness in motion, where every moment is an opportunity to be present. The young monk in the courtyard is named Ma Zu, later to be known as one of the most influential Zen masters in history, but now just a dedicated practitioner, eager to find enlightenment through his efforts. For days, he has been sitting in the same spot, polishing a brick with a piece of sandpaper, his hands calloused, his brow furrowed with concentration. The brick is smooth now, its surface gleaming in the sunlight, but Ma Zu continues to polish as if he believes that, with enough effort, something extraordinary will happen. One afternoon, the abbot of the monastery, Master Huineng, not the same as the sixth patriarch, but a successor carrying his name, walks through the courtyard and stops beside Ma Zu. He watches silently for a moment, then asks, "What are you doing, my son?" Ma Zu looks up, surprised by the interruption. "I am polishing this brick," he says, "to make a mirror." Master Huineng raises an eyebrow, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Can polishing a brick really make a mirror?" he asks. Ma Zu pauses, confusion crossing his face. "Well, no," he admits, "but I have been told that if I meditate long enough, if I practice hard enough, I will become enlightened. I thought that if I can polish a brick to make a mirror, then perhaps with enough effort, I can polish my mind to make it enlightened." Master Huineng laughs, a warm, hearty sound that echoes across the courtyard. "Polishing a brick will never make a mirror, no matter how hard you try," he says. "A brick is a brick, and a mirror is a mirror. They have different natures, different purposes. You can polish a brick for 1,000 years, and it will still be a brick. In the same way, you can sit in meditation for 1,000 years, straining and striving, and you will not become enlightened through effort alone. Enlightenment is not something you create by polishing. It is something you recognize, something that is already present, waiting to be seen. Breathe in, letting this image settle in your mind. The young monk, the brick, the master's wise words. Exhale, and with that breath, release any sense of struggle, any belief that you need to work harder, try more, or push yourself to the limit to find peace. In this moment, you can recognize that peace is not something to be earned through effort, but something to be recognized as already present. The story of Ma Zu and the brick is a powerful reminder of the Zen, teaching that enlightenment is not a product of effort. It is not something we can create through hard work, discipline, or striving. This may seem counterintuitive, especially in a world that values effort and achievement, but it is a core insight of Zen Buddhism. Just as a brick cannot be polished into a mirror, no matter how much effort we put into it, our minds cannot be polished into enlightenment through sheer willpower. Enlightenment is not a state we achieve. It is a truth we realize, that we are already enlightened, already perfect, just as we are. This idea is rooted in the Buddhist concept of Buddha nature, the belief that all beings possess the potential for enlightenment within themselves, just as a seed contains the potential for a tree. Buddha nature is not something we need to develop or create. It is something we need to uncover, to recognize, by removing the layers of ignorance, attachment, and aversion that cover it. Polishing a brick is like trying to create a seed where there is none. It is a misunderstanding of the true nature of things. The Buddha himself taught this in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, where he says, all sentient beings have Buddha nature. It is like the sun and moon, which are always bright, but are covered by clouds. When the clouds disperse, the sun and moon shine forth. Our efforts to polish our minds are like trying to create the sun and moon, rather than simply waiting for the clouds to disperse. The sun and moon are already there. We just need to let the clouds pass. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind all the ways you polish bricks in your own life, the times you push yourself to be better, to do more, to achieve more, in the belief that this will make you happy or peaceful. Notice how this effort feels in your body tension, in your shoulders, a tightness in your chest, a sense of pressure. Now, imagine letting go of that effort just for a moment and see how that feels. Can you sense a softening, a relief, a recognition that you are already enough just as you are? From a modern psychological perspective, the polishing the brick syndrome is closely linked to what psychologists call perfectionism, the tendency to set excessively high standards for oneself, to judge oneself harshly for not meeting those standards, and to believe that self-worth is dependent on achievement. Perfectionism is associated with anxiety, depression, and burnout, as the endless striving for an unattainable ideal creates a cycle of effort and disappointment. Research has shown that this kind of excessive effort activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response, putting the body in a state of chronic stress. This not only undermines our sense of well-being, but also impairs our ability to think clearly, to connect with others, and to experience joy in the present moment. Like Mazu polishing the brick, we are expending enormous amounts of energy on something that cannot possibly give us what we seek. Mazu, to his credit, is wise enough to listen to Master Huineng's words. He puts down the brick in the sandpaper, his hands aching, but his mind suddenly clear. Then what should I do? He asks, if effort is not the answer, how do I find enlightenment? Enlightenment is not something you find by doing, Master Huineng replies. It is something you realize by being. When you stop trying to polish the brick, when you stop striving to become something you are not, you realize that you are already enlightened, just as this brick is already a brick. Your nature is Buddha nature. You do not need to create it. You just need to stop covering it up with your efforts, your judgments, your beliefs about what you should be. In the days that follow, Mazu changes his approach to practice. He still meditates, but he does so with a sense of ease, not strain. He still performs his chores, but he does them with mindfulness, not as a means to an end. He begins to see that enlightenment is not a distant goal to be achieved, but a present reality to be lived. He realizes that every moment, whether chopping wood, carrying water, or sitting in meditation, is an opportunity to recognize his true nature, if he can just let go of the need to do something to find it. This is the practice of Wu Wei, Chinese term meaning non-action or effortless action, the art of acting in accordance with the natural flow of life, rather than against it. Wu Wei is not laziness or passivity. It is acting with awareness, with presence, without the strain of excessive effort. It is like swimming with the current, rather than against it, still moving forward, but with ease, with grace. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, imagine yourself swimming with the current, moving forward with ease, without strain. Exhale, and with that breath, let go of any excessive effort, any sense that you need to push against the flow of life to find peace. In this moment, you can trust that the current is carrying you exactly where you need to go. Zu's transformation is not about abandoning practice. It is about changing his relationship to it. He moves from a place of striving to a place of allowing, from a place of effort to a place of ease. He realizes that the path to enlightenment is not a straight line of achievement, but a circular journey of return to the truth of who he already is. This is the paradox of spiritual practice. The harder we try to find enlightenment, the further away it seems. It is only when we stop trying, when we let go of our ideas about what it is and how to get there, that we realize it has been with us all along. Like polishing a brick to make a mirror, our efforts to find enlightenment are based on a misunderstanding of our true nature. We are already enlightened. We just need to stop covering it up. So what does it mean to practice putting down the brick in your daily life? It means meditating without trying to empty your mind, trusting that just sitting is enough. It means working without being consumed by the need to succeed, finding joy in the process rather than the outcome. It means relating to others without trying to impress or please, being authentically yourself. It means letting go of the belief that you need to be different, better, or more to be worthy of peace and happiness. Tonight's practice builds on the feast ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup, the clear mirror, the two arrows, the raft, the cypress tree, the lotus in the rain, and the unstruck bell with the wisdom of putting down the brick. Lie quietly in bed and notice any places in your body where you are holding tension, perhaps in your jaw, your shoulders, or your chest. This tension is like polishing the brick effort that is not serving you. As you breathe, imagine releasing that tension, letting it melt away with each exhale. You do not need to push or strain to release it. Just let it go, as naturally as a leaf falling from a tree. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, I put down the brick, put it down. I am enough, just as I am. Peace is here now. Breathe in and feel the truth of your inherent worth, your Buddha nature, your already enlightened state. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into that truth, letting go of any effort, any striving, any need to be anything other than what you are. Remember, the goal is not to abandon effort entirely. That would be like stopping all activity, which is not practical or desirable. The goal is to recognize when effort is useful and when it is not, when it is helping you and when it is hindering you. It is to find the middle path between laziness and excessive striving, between doing nothing and doing too much. It is to realize that peace is not something you achieve through effort, but something you recognize as already present. When the effort ceases, as Master Huineng might say, the brick is perfect as a brick, and you are perfect as you are. There is no need to polish, no need to change, no need to become something else. You are already enlightened, already peaceful, already enough. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into Fin. Relaxation, into the ease of being exactly who you are. In the monastery courtyard, the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the brick that Mazu has put down. Mazu sits beside it, his posture relaxed, his face calm as he watches the day fade into evening. He no longer sees the brick as a project to be completed, but as a reminder of the wisdom he has gained, that some things are perfect just as they are. And so are we. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, you do not need to polish yourself into something you are not. You are perfect just as you are, with all your flaws and imperfections, with all your strengths and weaknesses. Peace is not a destination to be reached through effort. It is a truth to be recognized in the present moment when the striving ceases. Breathe in, breathe out. You put down the brick, put it down. You are enough. You are free. Let the image of Mazu and the polished brick soften into the golden light of the setting sun as the monastery courtyard fades into the quiet of evening. Now, turn your attention to a small, dimly lit Dharma hall in a remote Zen temple where the air is thick with the scent of old wood and incense, and the only sound is the soft rustle of robes as monks shift on their meditation cushions. The walls are bare except for a single scroll on which a single character is painted: Tao, the way, the path, the ultimate reality that cannot be named. In the center of the hall, an elderly monk sits on a raised platform, his face lined with the wisdom of years his eyes bright with a quiet intensity. This is Master Juji, known throughout the land for a teaching so simple, so direct, that it defies explanation. Breathe in deeply, letting the stillness of the Dharma hall fill your lungs, carrying with it the weight of centuries of practice, of seekers and teachers, of questions and silence. Exhale slowly, feeling any restlessness in your mind settle into a sense of anticipation, as if the very air is waiting for something profound to be revealed. Notice how the light filters through the wooden lattice windows, casting thin strips of light that cut through the darkness, illuminating motes of dust that float like tiny stars. This is the space between words, between thoughts, where truth resides. A young novice enters the hall, his head bowed, his hands clasped in front of him. He has traveled for months to seek Master Juji's guidance, his mind filled with questions about Zen, about enlightenment, about the nature of reality. He has studied the sutras, memorized the koans, and practiced meditation until his legs ached, but he still feels lost, adrift in a sea of concepts. Master Juji, he says, his voice trembling with nervousness, what is the essence of Zen? What is the path to enlightenment? Master Juji does not speak. He simply raises his right hand, extends his index finger, and points upward, toward the scroll on the wall, toward the ceiling, toward the sky beyond. His finger is gnarled with age, his nail yellowed, but there is a power in that simple gesture, a clarity that cuts through the novice's confusion. The novice is confused. Master, he says, what does this mean? What is the significance of your finger? Is it a symbol of the unity of all things? A representation of the Buddha nature within us? A pointer to the inexpressible truth? Master Juji lowers his hand, his expression unchanged. He says nothing. Over the next few days, the novice sees Master Juji respond to other seekers in the same way. When asked about the nature of reality, he raises his finger. When asked about the path to enlightenment, he raises his finger. When asked about life and death, about suffering and peace, about the past and the future, he raises his finger, silent, unwavering. One day, a young boy who lives in the temple, the son of one of the kitchen workers, sees Master Juji raising his finger in response to a question. Later, when a visitor asks the boy, "What does Master Juji teach?" the boy mimics the master, raising his own small finger and pointing upward. When Master Juji hears about this, he calls the boy to him. He asks, "What is the essence of Zen?" The boy raises his finger, just as he has seen the master do that without warning. Master Juji draws a knife and cuts off the boy's finger. The boy screams in pain, clutching his bleeding hand, and runs away. As he runs, Master Juji calls after him, "What is the essence of Zen?" The boy turns to look back at the master, and in that moment, as he opens his mouth to cry out, he suddenly understands. Juji, 9th century. Breathe in, letting this shocking, paradoxical story settle in your mind. The finger, the question. The knife, the moment of understanding. Exhale, and with that breath, release any need to intellectualize, to analyze, to make sense of what cannot be put into words. In this moment, you can recognize that truth lies beyond concepts, beyond symbols, beyond even the most simple gestures. It is found in the space between the finger and what it points to, in the silence beyond words. The story of Master Juji and the one-finger Zen is one of the most radical koans in Zen Buddhism, challenging our tendency to grasp at concepts, to seek meaning in symbols, to reduce the inexpressible to something we can understand. The finger is a pointer, but it is not the truth itself. To confuse the finger with the moon it points to is to miss the moon entirely. This is the teaching of non-duality, the recognition that any attempt to divide reality into concepts, into subject and object, into this and that, is an illusion. The finger points to the moon, but the finger is not the moon. The words we use to describe reality are not reality itself. The concepts we form in our minds are not the things they represent. They are tools, pointers, but they are not the truth. Buddha taught this in the Diamond Sutra, where he says, "If someone says that the Tathagata Buddha has something to teach, that person slanders the Buddha, for he does not understand what I have said." Why? Because what is called the Tathagatas teaching is no teaching. This is not to say that the Buddha's teachings are worthless. It is to say that they are pointers, not the truth itself. They are like the finger pointing to the moon, useful, but not to be confused with the moon. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind a concept or belief that is important to you, a spiritual teaching, a philosophical idea, a personal value. Notice how you cling to it, how you believe it represents the truth. Now, imagine that concept as a finger pointing to the moon. Can you see the moon beyond the finger? Can you sense the truth that lies beyond the concept, the reality that cannot be captured in words? From a modern psychological perspective, the one-finger Zen syndrome is closely linked to what psychologists call conceptual overshadowing, the tendency for our concepts and beliefs to obscure our direct experience of reality. Research has shown that when we label something, when we put a concept to it, we actually reduce our ability to perceive it fully, to experience it as it is. Our conceptual mind is a powerful tool for navigating the world, but it can also create a filter that distorts our perception of reality. The novice in the story is caught in this conceptual overshadowing, trying to find meaning in the finger, rather than looking where it points. The young boy, before his finger is cut off, is also caught in it, mimicking the gesture without understanding its purpose. It is only when the finger is removed, when the symbol is taken away, that the boy is able to see beyond it, to experience the truth directly, without the filter of the concept. This is not to say that concepts and symbols are bad. They are necessary for communication, for learning, for making sense of the world. But they are not the truth itself. And when we confuse them with the truth, we create suffering. We become attached to our concepts, defend them against others, and miss the living, breathing reality that is always present. Beyond our ideas about it, in the days after his finger is cut off, the young boy does not return to the temple. He lives with his family, his hand healing slowly, the memory of the pain and the shock lingering. But something has changed in him. He no longer seeks answers in gestures or words. He sees the truth in the ordinary moments of life, in the way. The sun rises over the mountains, in the sound of water boiling in the kettle, in the smile of his mother as she tends to his wound. He realizes that the essence of Zen is not in a finger or a word or a concept, but in the direct experience of life, unfiltered by the mind's need to understand and explain. This is the practice of direct experience meeting life as it is, without the filter of concepts, without the need to label or categorize or understand. It is the practice of seeing the moon, not just the finger that points to it. It is the practice of being present, fully and completely, to what is, rather than what we think it is. Breathe in deeply. And as you do, imagine that your concepts, your beliefs, your ideas about reality are like fingers pointing to the moon. Exhale, and with that breath, let go of the fingers just for a moment and look at the moon. See it directly, without the filter of the concept. The young boy's transformation is not about losing something, the finger, but about gaining something. The ability to see beyond the symbol to the truth it points to. He learns that the path to enlightenment is not in clinging to concepts or gestures, but in letting them go, in being open to the mystery of life, in experiencing reality directly, without the mind's need to grasp and understand. This is the paradox of the one-finger Zen. Sometimes we need to lose the finger, the symbol, The concept, the idea to find the moon, the truth, the reality. We need to let go of our need to understand in order to experience, to stop grasping at concepts in order to touch the living truth dot. So what does it mean to practice letting go of the finger in your daily life? It means reading a spiritual text, not just for the concepts, but for the direct experience it points to. It means listening to a teacher, not just for their words, but for the silence between them, the presence that lies beyond the speech. It means being with a friend or loved one, not just in the stories you tell each other, but in the shared silence, a connection that is deeper than words. It means letting go of your ideas about who you are and what life is, just for a moment, and experiencing the raw, unfiltered reality of being alive. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating the lessons of the empty cup, the clear mirror, the two arrows, the raft, the cypress tree, the lotus in the rain, the unstruck bell, and putting down the brick with the wisdom of the one-finger Zen. Lie quietly in bed and bring to mind a concept or belief that is important to you, a spiritual teaching, a personal value, an idea about reality. Notice how you cling to this concept, how it makes you feel safe, how it helps you make sense of the world. Now, imagine setting it down just for a moment, like putting down a heavy object. Notice what happens when you let go of it. Do you feel a sense of loss, of uncertainty, or a sense of freedom, of openness? As you do this, repeat to yourself, silently, I let go of the finger to see the moon. I experience directly, without concepts. Truth is here now. Breathe in and feel the openness, the freedom, the mystery of reality without the filter of concepts. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into that mystery, into the direct experience of being alive, of breathing, of existing in this moment. Remember, the goal is not to abandon all concepts and belief. That would be impossible. And even if it were, it would not be desirable. Concepts are useful, necessary tools. The goal is to recognize them as tools, as pointers, not as the truth itself. It is to be able to use them when needed and let them go when they are not, to see the moon beyond the finger, the truth beyond the concept dot. As Master Jushi might say, the finger is useful, but do not mistake it for the moon. The word is useful, but do not mistake it for the truth. The concept is useful, but do not mistake it for reality. Let go of the finger and see the moon. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation, into the direct experience of this moment, unfiltered by concepts, unmediated by the mind's need to understand. In the Dharma hall, Master Juji sits quietly, his hand resting on his lap, the missing finger a silent reminder of the wisdom he has shared. The scroll with the character Tao hangs on the wall, its meaning clear to those who can see beyond the word. The novice, who has watched and listened, begins to understand. He realizes that the essence of Zen is not in a finger or a word, but in the silence between them, in the direct experience of life, unfiltered and unshackled. And so it is for you. As we move forward, carrying this lesson with us, remember, do not mistake the finger for the moon, the word for the truth, the concept for reality. Let go of the finger and see the moon. Let go of the word and experience the truth. Let go of the concept and touch reality. Breathe in, breathe out. You have let go of the finger. You see the moon. You are free. Let the paradox of the one-finger Zen linger in your awareness, like the echo of a bell long after it has stopped ringing. Now, shift your attention to a small tea house nestled beside a mountain path, where the air is sweet with the aroma of brewing tea and fresh pine. The room is simple rough wooden tables, benches carved from tree trunks, a clay stove in the corner where a kettle sings softly. Sunlight slants through paper windows, painting rectangles of gold on the earthen floor. And in one corner, an elderly monk sits cross-legged on a straw mat, his hands moving with deliberate grace as he prepares tea. This is Master Zhao Zhu again, older now, his hair white as snow, but his eyes still bright with the same mischievous wisdom that once pointed to a cypress tree in a courtyard. Breathe in deeply, letting the scent of tea and wood smoke fill your lungs, grounding you in the simplicity of this moment. Exhale slowly, feeling any remaining restlessness melt away, as if the warmth of the tea house is seeping into your bones, inviting you to stay, to pause, to be present. Notice the sound of the kettle, the rustle of the monk's robes, the soft crackle of the fire, each sound a note in a melody of presence. This is the beauty of the ordinary. When we pay attention, it becomes extraordinary. A traveler arrives at the tea house, his boots caked with mud, his face lined with the weariness of a long journey. He has heard of Master Zhao Zhu's wisdom and has come seeking guidance, his mind swirling with questions about life, death, and the nature of reality. He bows deeply as he enters and sits at a table, waiting for the master to acknowledge him. Master Zhao Zhu looks up, smiles, and says, "Have some tea." The traveler is confused. He has come expecting profound teachings, complicated koans, ancient wisdom, not an invitation to tea. "Master Zhao Zhu," he says, "I have traveled far to learn from you. I want to understand the essence of Zen, the path to enlightenment. Please teach me." Master Zhao Zhu pours a cup of tea, its steam curling upward like a prayer, and sets it in front of the traveler. "Have some tea," he repeats, his voice gentle but firm. The traveler hesitates, then picks up the cup, sipping cautiously. The tea is bitter at first, then sweet, its warmth spreading through his body. As he drinks, something shifts in him. The questions that have been burning in his mind suddenly seem less important. In this moment, there is only the taste of the tea, the warmth of the cup in his hands, the presence of the old monk across from him. For the first time in weeks, he is not thinking about where he has been or where he is going. He is just here, now, drinking tea. And in that moment, he understands. Breathe in, letting the simplicity of this scene settle in your mind. The tea, the traveler, the master's quiet invitation. Exhale, and with that breath, release any need for grand insights or profound experiences. In this moment, you can recognize that the path to enlightenment is not in some distant future or far-off place, but in the simple act of drinking tea, of being present to what is right in front of you. The story of Have Some Tea is one of the most beloved in Zen Buddhism. A perfect expression of the teaching that enlightenment is found in the ordinary moments of life, not in extraordinary experiences or esoteric knowledge. Zhao Zhu is not dismissing the traveler's questions or minimizing his search. He is inviting him to find the answers he seeks in the present moment, in the simple act of drinking tea. This is the teaching of everyday Zen, the recognition that spiritual practice is not something we do separate from our daily lives, but something we bring to our daily lives, whether we are drinking tea, washing dishes, or walking down the street. The Buddha taught that enlightenment is not found in meditation retreats or holy temples alone, but in the midst of life, in the ordinary activities that make up our days. In the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha says, just as a great river has a single taste, the taste of water, so too, this Dharma and discipline has a single taste, the taste of liberation. This liberation is not something we achieve through special rituals or practices. It is something we taste in every moment if we are present enough to notice it. It is the taste of tea, the sound of rain, the feel of sunlight on our skin experienced, fully, without distraction, without the filter of our thoughts. Let this sink in for a moment. Close your eyes if you wish, and bring to mind a simple, ordinary activity from your day: brushing your teeth, drinking a glass of water, walking from one room to another. Notice how often you do these things on autopilot, your mind elsewhere, your body moving without awareness. Now, imagine doing that same activity with full presence, feeling the toothbrush in your hand, tasting the toothpaste, feeling the water on your skin, savoring the coolness of the water, the way it quenches your thirst, noticing the sensation of your feet on the floor, the movement of your body as you walk. Can you sense how this simple act of presence transforms the ordinary into something sacred? From a modern psychological perspective, the practice of having some tea is closely linked to what psychologists call mindful momentary experience, the ability to engage fully with the present moment without judgment or distraction. Research has shown that this kind of present moment awareness is associated with increased happiness, reduced stress, and improved overall well-being. When we are fully present, we are not caught in the past or the future, not consumed by regret or worry, but anchored in the richness of the here and now. The traveler in the story is like many of us, so focused on his destination, on finding answers, on achieving enlightenment, that he misses the path that is right in front of him. He thinks he needs something special, something extraordinary, to find peace. But Zhao Zhou shows him that peace is found in the ordinary, in the act of drinking tea, in being present to what is done. In the days after his visit to the tea house, the traveler continues his journey, but something is different. He still has questions, but they no longer torment him. He finds himself stopping to drink tea in small villages along the way, savoring each cup, each moment of connection with the people he meets. He notices the way the light changes as the day progresses, the sound of birds in the morning, the smell of food cooking in the evening. He realizes that enlightenment is not a destination he will reach someday, but a way of traveling, a way of being in the world. This is the practice of mindful living, bringing awareness to every moment, no matter how ordinary. It is not about perfection. It is about returning to the present moment again and again, whenever we notice our minds have wandered. It is about seeing each moment as an opportunity to wake up, to be alive, to taste the richness of life. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, bring to mind the next ordinary activity you will engage in: getting out of bed, making coffee, checking your phone. Exhale, and with that breath, commit to doing that activity with full presence, with awareness, as if it were the most important thing in the world. The traveler's transformation is not about becoming someone new, but about remembering how to be himself fully, completely, in each moment. He learns that the path to enlightenment is not a straight line, but a circle that brings him back to himself, to the present moment, to the simple act of being alive. This is the paradox of have some tea. The more we seek enlightenment, the further away it seems. It is only when we stop seeking, when we settle into the present moment, when we drink our tea with full presence, that we realize it has been with us all along. So what does it mean to practice having some tea in your daily life? It means waking up in the morning and taking a moment to appreciate the warmth of your bed before getting up. It means eating breakfast without checking your phone, savoring each bite. It means commuting to work and noticing the people around you, the buildings, the sky, instead of being lost in your thoughts. It means pausing throughout the day to breathe, to notice, to be present to the life that is happening right now, in front of you. Tonight's practice builds on the ones from previous nights, integrating all the lessons we have explored: the empty cup, the clear mirror, the two arrows, the raft, the cypress tree, the lotus in the rain, the unstruck bell, putting down the brick, and the one-finger Zen with the simple wisdom of have some tea. Lie quietly in bed and bring to mind the last time you drank something: a cup of tea, coffee, water, and remember the sensations of that moment. The temperature of the liquid, the taste, the feel of the cup in your hand. Now, imagine that you are drinking that beverage again, but this time with complete presence. Notice every sensation, every detail, without thinking about anything else. Let this moment be enough. Just as it is. As you do this, repeat to yourself silently, I am here now. This moment is enough. I taste life fully. Breathe in and feel the fullness of this moment, the richness of being present. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into that presence, into the simple joy of being alive. Remember, the goal is not to have some extraordinary experience of enlightenment, but to wake up to the life you are already living, to taste each moment fully, too. Drink your tea with awareness. This is the path of everyday Zen, and it is available to you in every moment, no matter where you are or what you are doing. As Jiu Zhao might say, you don't need to go anywhere or do anything special to find enlightenment. Just have some tea. Just be here now. That is enough. Breathe in and feel the truth of that in your bones. Breathe out and let yourself sink deeper into relaxation, into the present moment, into the simple joy of being alive. In the tea house, the sun begins to set, casting a warm glow over Master Zhao Zhou and the empty teacups. The traveler has gone, but his presence lingers, like the memory of a good conversation. Master Zhao Zhou pours himself a cup of tea, savoring it slowly, his eyes closed, fully present to the taste, the warmth, the moment. For him, there is no past or future, no enlightenment to seek or attain. There is only this cup of tea, this moment, this life. And so it is for you. As we conclude this journey, remember, the path to peace, to enlightenment, to freedom, is not in some distant place or future time. It is here, now, in the simple act of drinking tea, of breathing, of being present to the life that is unfolding in front of you. Breathe in, breathe out. Have some tea. You are here now. You are free. As we've journeyed through the emptiness of the teacup, the clarity of the mirror, and the lotus in the rain, those thoughts that once kept you tossing and turning have settled like fallen leaves returning to the earth. May these truths be the moonlight by your pillow, guarding your sleep each night. May you remember, peace is not far away, but in the present moment of each breath. Peace comes from within. Peace comes from within. Peace comes from within. Thank you for sharing this journey from the Zen Heart Temple. Now, let sleep be like a night pond, reflecting your truest self.